Airdrop. Good, quiet on the set. Action. Good evening. Welcome to the Tibet Center.
Good evening. Thank you.
For the people here, we don't have prayers, so if you can follow the prayers on your phones, we'll start with the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living here, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Now the Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Ayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Buddhism. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering and the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Now we generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So, let's do 3 rosaries of Om Mani Padme Hum. And while you're reciting, think of compassion. Om Mani Padme Hum is the mantra of compassion. And think of what compassion is. Think of the elements that bring about compassion, a recognition of your own suffering, a recognition of your dependence on others, and a recognition of their suffering. And out of those recognitions, you will develop the feeling, the wish to remove their suffering. That's compassion. And that's what you're trying to cultivate in reciting Om Mani Padme Hum. You can also think of the meaning of Om, Ma, the body, speech, and mind of myself, the eventually purified body, speech, and mind of full enlightenment. Mani, which is the method aspects of the path to enlightenment. Padme, which is the wisdom aspect of the path to enlightenment. And Hum, which is the bringing together, the merging of the wisdom and method aspects of the path. And it is by bringing the wisdom and method aspects together that we purify our body, speech, and mind, represented by Om. So Om Mani Padme Hum, each aspect has a meaning to be considered, to be thought about as you recite Om Mani Padme Hum. So we'll do 3 rosaries. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So we are discussing beyond religion, ethics for a whole world. And we have reached page 85, for those of you who have it. So, His Holiness talked about the assumption of responsibility towards others. Working at cultivating a feeling of responsibility towards others. That this is something that we have to do, not in a religious context, but just out of a recognition of how dependent we are on others and how this brings us happiness, this brings others happiness. It is the most effective way to improve life, the world. And His Holiness talks about the cultivation of compassion as the motivation that we should have in assuming this responsibility. That the motivation is one thing, but then we have to also use discernment in order to determine just how to apply ourselves. So the motivation and then the ability to actually apply that motivation are the two things that we have to work on. Where we've reached, His Holiness has just talked about how we can view this sense of responsibility, this which is what His Holiness considers to be ethics, an ethical practice, can be viewed from a personal level or a social level. And he's saying the social is an abdication of our own involvement. The real practice, the real involvement has to be personal. What we're really talking about is my own involvement, my own assumption of responsibility. We can't work at changing others. We can only work at implementing our own efforts, working ourselves to the degree that we are able to for the benefit of society and of others. So, this is going back a little bit, but occasionally I notice that people are making a convenient distinction between ethics on the personal level and ethics on the wider social level. To me, such attitudes are fundamentally flawed, as they overlook the interdependence of our world. The individual ethics, or rather their absence, can have an impact on the lives of many. That individual ethics, or rather their absence, can have an impact on the lives of many, is powerfully demonstrated by the global financial crisis that began in 2008. The repercussions of which are still being felt around the world. It revealed the way unbridled greed on the part of a few can adversely affect the lives of millions. So just as in the wake of the 9/11 attacks, we started to take the dangers of religious extremism and intolerance seriously, so too in the wake of the financial crisis, we should take the dangers of greed and dishonesty seriously. So when we I'll ask you, what are your thoughts about the individual assumption of an ethical responsibility rather than the societal one?
He's offering proof that the intermental activity of certain people can drastically affect the whole the financial crisis, the terrorist attacks, it started in people's minds. The wrong idea of things and came to fruition, especially in 2008, that's affected the whole world. So it's offering that as proof that
But we do need societal guardrails.
Yes.
We have to implement, we have to, have or put into the works.
About laws.
Yes, those.
Yeah, those things. I'm above the law, you know that, so it's done.
Beyond the certain.
Yeah, but the laws are made by minds. Good laws should reflect the moral stance, I guess. But what does everybody else think? What do people think?
So here, what His Holiness is presenting is that, we could simply depend on the laws that society imposes, and that would be an abdication of responsibility. It is essential that in addition to our society cultivating and creating laws, we ourselves work and implementing them and implementing our own sense of right and wrong, restraint from selfish and working on.
Ideally, our own individual ethics would create the societal, right? I guess that would be the example of like, see.
But which comes first, the egg or the chicken?
I think the egg, if that was the individual. Is that, I mean, it's like society, humanity makes for society, I suppose, so it's like, I think nowadays it can almost feel deceiving that you're just isolated and you're in your own bubble all the time because of technology, maybe reference to say, you know, next chapter, challenge technological progress.
Right.
But it seems like we feel very isolated because you can get home and get anything you want at any time. And that maybe you don't feel as dependent on someone else, even though you are. So I feel like it can feel like you're almost at a distance from the societal ethics, but it seems that, yeah, you concentrate on your own ethics. If everyone did, it would probably create a better world.
And concentrating on your own ethics is the only thing that you truly have control over. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, Michael. Do you have your hand up?
Didn't really, but I have a thought. It's not working today.
What? It's not working?
Metaphor, so.
Still not? No?
No, I have a dead battery on.
Oh, like, what's the,
Yeah, there's a receiver and the receiver is dead. So, I think there should be more people who are good public speakers and notoriety should be out there on the TV, the radio, talking about such things. We hear relatively small influence.
We hear what?
A dozen people is good, but there really should be people with similar ethics and a good presentation be on the TV or on the internet or on YouTube or whatever. But we don't get that.
We do. We have Patrick here creating
Yeah,
videos.
Well, that's why it's so good to have this holiness, having all of his teachings online now, when we used to have to go in person. But, I understand what you mean, because oftentimes the bad actors are the ones that get all the attention and all the media and the ratings. So individually speaking to your neighbor as well as having people in the broader culture to be able to talk about just laws and make those connections of interdependence to those just laws in a better culture, I think would help.
So I think we discussed this last week. I'm going to just go over it because I think it's His Holiness talks about apathy. So in this age of globalization, the time has come for us to acknowledge that our lives are deeply interconnected and to recognize that our behavior has a global dimension. When we do so, we will see that our own interests are best served by what is in the interest of the wider human community. By contrast, if we concentrate exclusively on our own inner development and neglect the wider problems of the world, or if, having recognized these, we are apathetic about trying to solve them, then we have overlooked something fundamental. Apathy, in my view, is itself a form of selfishness. For our approach to ethics to be truly meaningful, we must, of course, care about the world. This is what I mean by the principle of global responsibility, which is a key part of my approach to secular ethics. Okay, I think that this is something to really think about, and we have discussed it, but the whole the discussion that we had last week was really about the justification, how to justify my own inner, let's say, meditation. Is that an abdication of my responsibility to serve society, to help others?
My own inner, say it one more time, sorry.
Working on myself, simply working on myself. The hermit who goes off and lives in the cave, is he or she abdicating a responsibility to serve society? That's something for each one of us to think about. I think that, yes.
Does that depend on vows? I asked this question to you years ago. I said, oh, well, what about my hermit? I'm just staying in the cave and I'm hurting.
I'm staying in the
What about my
cave.
hermit? I
Yeah.
am a hermit and staying home all day.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hurt anyone today. I stayed home. And I asked this question years ago and you said, well, that depends if you have vows. If you're home all day and you have vows and you intentionally not harm anyone, that's meritorious and virtuous.
So I should explain that. This is rather interesting about the power of a vow. If I do not kill, if I go through my day without killing, there's nothing either virtuous or non-virtuous about that. But if I intend to refrain from killing in order to benefit others, then the effort of refraining from killing has virtue. If I take a vow that I shall not kill for the sake of all sentient beings, and I refrain from killing with that intention, then the time that I don't kill, even if I'm simply sitting on my cushion contemplating my navel, is virtuous, has a certain positive quality. That's the vow that you're referring to. Yes,
So
the idea of a vow. So, Michael, you can't hear anything?
This,
I mean, you're
It's
missing a
not-
lot, I gotta tell you.
We heard, because you asked Michael, we heard that it's fine.
Yeah, you're okay. Okay, so since we went over this last week, I've refreshed it, I hope, and I think it's something to think about. I think it's something to mull, to contemplate on our own. I think it's sort of like a fundamental question to bring into our lives, to work on in our lives.
Seems that if you're in touch with the Dharma, or that it kind of works through you to kind of point you in the right direction to what you need to do anyway. And so if I think about it, it feels like if I'm in that flow and I'm studying and I'm, in touch, and I'm doing what I feel like my purpose is, to end suffering for others, and that means I need to stay inside that day, then that seems appropriate. But on the whole, it seems most people need to let life live through them and be around other people, seemingly. And by seeing them filled with purpose, I'm inspired to be filled with purpose.
I think it varies for everyone.
Yeah.
And within our lives, it varies for ourselves at different times. But it's something to be aware of. It's not that one is right and the other is wrong. It all depends on our intention, and it all depends on how able we are to make use of, let's say, time alone. Many people really need the structure of an organization to serve others. It really depends. It depends.
I find that the deliberate dedication of merit also helps me be aware of that moment by moment passage of time, how I want to react in that moment or for the next hour or for the next day. Because it's also easy to think, oh, I'm a Buddhist, and you don't always physically think through the 6 perfections and how that's going to impact your day or how you interact with people. So that's why I always like that act of dedicating merit, because it's very deliberate, and that seems to be an important aspect of thinking through your interdependence, even if you're at home or walking down the sidewalk.
So dedicating merit is a wonderful way of doing virtue without getting your hands dirty.
Exponential.
Martyring. The other trick of doing that.
Oh, yeah. That's
Oh,
right.
you did the job great, one-on-one. That I like.
Yes.
Just wondered if our meditation practice, on our own is our way of preparing us for engaging with the world around us and trying to influence in a positive way, help others in a positive way from our practice. To deal with chaos and difficult circumstances. Our practice will bring us, hopefully, in time, bring us there to have a positive impact on our community.
So what where did you, what were you leading to?
What's that?
I didn't get where you led us to.
My hair is so bad.
So we devote ourselves to our own practice in order to develop the ability to serve. Yes.
Foster positive energy. Especially now, there's very isolated issues going on, and people with social isolation. Just feel, our practice should be just kept within ourselves, but to, use that to help ourselves and others.
Yes. The point is to help others. Sorry?
No,
Still working on it. There's how still working on it, but
we all. Enough words.
Any intention to help others is a contribution to others. Even, I don't know, working on ourselves with an intention that, or this is as much as I can do for others, and becomes a help. Working at diminishing our selfish tendencies, working towards not losing our temper. Those little things, I think, help others.
And becomes a good habit. So
Yeah.
that energy doesn't go away. It comes back. It's like it used to being angry, it's always gonna come back. So that's the way the mind works. Seems to be anyway, in my mind. Yeah, Judge.
Sorry?
Check the text.
No, I can't. No.
What happened? Trying to ask you questions.
Oh no! Tell us. So we have questions from online. I like the idea of communicating with the stratosphere.
Right beyond, we don't know who these people are.
Series of tubes. Leslie Ehrman says one can work on oneself and still engage in trying to make a difference in the lives of others.
Say it loudly.
Modulate.
Leslie Ehrman Because one can work on oneself and still be engaged in trying to make a difference in the lives of others.
The most effective way that we can engage in and have an effect on others is by working on initially, in any case, working on ourselves. Yes. And
That's it. Yeah.
Oh,
I thought you said 2.
No, just.
good point.
So, okay, the challenges of technological progress. With the colossal scientific and technological advances, military, medical, and agricultural, of the past 2 centuries, humans now have unprecedented knowledge of and power over the world. Never before have we known so much or been in such a position of control over so many aspects of our planet. This situation raises a very serious concern. Is it possible that our responsibilities are now growing too fast for our natural capacity for moral discernment to keep pace?
Seems like.
It seems like it.
Yeah. in terms
So,
of
I'll reread it. Is it possible that our responsibilities are now growing too fast for our natural capacity for moral discernment to keep pace? Now, what's interesting about the question is that it suggests that we are so engaged and that our responsibilities are growing at such a pace. Those responsibilities are growing so fast that we're not able to maintain our moral ability to scrutinize. What's interesting about the question, as I say, is that it suggests that we really are intently involved in trying to serve our society.
Is it suggesting that the responsibilities are parallel to the technological advances?
Is it?
Suggesting that the responsibilities are parallel to the technological advances because we know more? Is that right?
Well, that the technological is enabling us to not just know more, but control more. And with that control or power comes moral responsibility. Do we have the ability to keep up?
You have the ability, but not necessarily the motivation.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, yes, but what he's asking about is whether we actually have the ability. I mean, I agree with you. That's,
She's
Well,
right,
we do
yeah.
have it. We do have it.
you think we do?
I know we do.
We
Okay.
have the capacity to go, maybe.
Well, I don't think that I even have the capacity to understand our technological evolution, let alone assume or maintain some kind of moral.
To understand the effect of
You understand what is harmful and what is not. So you discern, I would think that would be a logical thing to try to discern
Yes.
if something is harmful or if something is helpful.
Okay, so at that,
I think we innately have that as humans.
yeah. So you're saying it is possible that our responsibilities, no, our moral discernment, which is discerning between right and wrong, is able to keep up with our technological.
Possible. It's yes. Whether people choose to do it or not depends on their motivation.
It's the knowledge, like, it's kind of my field that I have to keep up with technology. So it's really the knowledge of understanding how it works, and in many ways, how it doesn't change our understanding of the world and our power within it. Very easy for people to be confused by that rapid power, and for people to deliberately misdirect with that evolution of technology. But you take a deep breath and think about the values and the interdependence and the impact of those technologies. You just have to stay steady against the people who want to confuse you about them. I mean, that's my experience for the last 30 years of following those rapid changes.
Who are the people who want to confuse you? I'm curious about.
So it has to do with the power balance, like that. And the next question His Holiness is asking about that power of science and technology, and kind of pairing that power and responsibility. So there are many people who have the power because they control the resources behind the technology, and they're much more interested in accumulating more power as opposed to using that technology to be helpful and to distribute.
Seems that.
So if you have that moral discernment, I find with His Holiness and your teachings and others, it's very grounding to be able to not be, dissuaded by people in power who sometimes just want to keep you off balance, let's say. So thinking through the foundations of in this case, Buddhism, and understanding the interdependence and not doing any harm. You just have to apply your brain and keep up with what they're doing, which is not so easy some days, but it's definitely within the capacity. And the monks that His Holiness has sent to learn science and to learn all the technology and understand the Buddhism. And those are also people that we can turn to in our broader community who might have that clarity. And I think I've always been impressed with His Holiness's insistence, how important it is to have the monastic community keep up with technological advances so that we're not confused by them.
So the next part of it is, can we trust ourselves with the power that science and technology have brought us?
If we've got moral clarity.
Read that.
That seems to be where that individual ethics comes in such a big way, seemingly. As if you're looking to someone else to figure it out, say, oh, I'll just give it to you to figure out. You're the tech company, or you're the person that made it all. Say, instead of treating technology like it's godly, treating your practice like it's godly, and then using them as tools and not as life force. Seems very, yeah.
A lot of technology seems to have an agenda behind. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Especially the development of weapons. But the big case going on smoking. Hidden agenda.
Yeah, not so hidden.
Hasn't changed.
Yeah. Not so hidden.
I guess my question is what does he mean when he says we in a sentence? Is he saying people reading the book, Buddhists, or is he saying all people?
All people, I think.
So I think if he's saying all people, I think the answer is that we are, well, I don't know if we don't have the capacity, we have the capacity in theory, but there's a lot of people using technology to promote hate and violence.
Yes.
So that to me is what comes to mind. And in that sense, I think if it's everybody, I don't think it's a very good prognosis.
No, the prognosis is not very good, but
Because
No.
there's so much, it's so easy to recruit people into extreme,
Yeah, it's
extremist views.
I like it so. Yes.
You used to have to, had to go somewhere, go to a rally or get
Right.
somewhere, and now it's just
Strange.
you're
You're
radical.
Parents based.
You're not as radicalized if you have interaction with the community and if you have a stronger sense of moral self. Right? And I mean, that's what, I mean, when it's holiness or when the Buddhists talk about the middle way, from extremism and radicalness, it's referring to nihilism.
Yeah, that's different.
It's different, but it also, yes, we have that capacity, we have that capacity as human beings. And as human beings, like community, we can do that, right? Whether we get there or not is a
So the we, on one level, the we refers to everyone. On another level, the we refers to those who are engaged enough so that we are listening to His Holiness. I mean,
Right.
So I think that there are two we's.
Yeah.
So one message from the universe is,
The we.
I would say, if the hermit is moving closer to removing the obstructions or to omniscience by being in the cave, he or she is closer to fulfilling everyone's needs. Therefore, they are not being inefficient in their service to others. Eventually, they can send as many bodies as they would like to give material things, love, protection, and teach. So, I mean, this is a justification for the hermit. Yes, and as we discussed last week, the person who is qualified to devote himself or herself to a very profound inner practice, but I think that the most important thing about devoting oneself to a very profound inner practice is one's motivation. If one enters into such practice with the intention that our realization be of benefit to others, then it's a virtuous inner practice, and it is the most effective thing that person can do for society. If we're doing it for ourselves, I don't know. So here in this note from the universe, it's specifically working towards removing the obstructions to omniscience. And the obstructions to omniscience are the obstructions to the omniscient attainment. The attainment of omniscience is considered to be the removal of those obstructions, and the attainment of omniscience is the attainment of the ability to most effectively help others. It is only an omniscient person who can truly provide each and every person, each and every being, with what that person needs in order to make his way, her way, to freedom from his or her suffering. So, the person who is devoting themselves to attaining omniscience should be left alone so that he or she can really...
And help us later when we're confused.
Yes. Okay. So, to go on, While our brains have not changed appreciably in the past 5,000 years, the world around us has changed to an extraordinary degree. Despite today's global challenges, I remain broadly optimistic. Time and again, we humans have risen to the challenges we have faced. We have successfully navigated many transitions in the course of our evolution from communities of hunter-gatherers to high-tech urban societies. This in itself is powerful testimony to our resilience, our resourcefulness as social and moral creatures. In fact, despite all the wars, disasters, and diseases we have encountered, the human race not only survives, but thrives. Far from destroying ourselves, we have in fact created an opposite problem, a human population rising at an unprecedented and alarming rate. Our success as a species has been made possible by our ability, particularly when our vital interests are threatened, to cooperate. So I'm going to read that again. Our success as a species has been made possible by our ability, particularly when our vital interests are threatened, to cooperate. Now, this is really working together, and it's a very beautiful comment on our society that, what has enabled us to survive, what has enabled us to thrive, what has enabled us to evolve is our ability to cooperate, to work together. And at the very heart of cooperation is the principle of taking into account the interests and welfare of others. I am therefore confident that we humans will once again find ways through cooperation to overcome our current ecological and technological challenges, but there can be no room for complacency.
Still positive.
So,
Really.
that is a very, very positive attitude towards the situation that we find ourselves in. What do you think?
Better than what I think, what he's saying.
You?
I give up.
Yes.
Think about what?
The trustees said.
The power of cooperation.
Yes.
That Casey says AI may further complicate society's ability to ensure ethical action.
Artificial intelligence may further complicate
Society's ability to ensure ethical action.
society's ability to ensure ethical
Action.
It takes education to understand how people use AI as a tool for good and a tool for bad. So there's a gap in knowledge right now, but there's no reason why we can't overcome that gap anymore. Overcome, other jobs. Got to create a lot of critical thinking skills. So Buddhism is very good.
Buddhism is good.
It seems like with Buddhism that it's a beautiful time to be Buddhist because as it always is, but I think because it feels the definition of suffering, correct me obviously if I'm wrong, is the kind of not being able to see reality, correct, in some way, to not be able to actually see what's going on, but to have a narrative and believe that suffering. And I think that technology, specifically smartphones and social media, which a lot of people are very engaged in, is an alternate reality. Stop. And so to train your mind to be able to actually see reality, I think it often encourages me to use technology on my phone very discerningly, because if I'm using it too often, it's unavoidable that I'll be in a conversation that is false in my head. So it seems that being in touch with the Dharma is a direct kind of radical path to seeing reality, not kind of engaging in things like, false narratives. It does mean that you have to really think that anything that you don't see that's in front of you could potentially not be real, which is kind of radical in 2024 because we really depend on technologies. But I see people in front of me here, but on my phone they could be fake, because there's a lot of that. So, yeah, thankful.
Well, now that you have a new tool to record reality before you.
That's very true.
Yes.
That's a great observation, and also I think the Dharma really helps you with that critical facility
Yeah.
that we also need online because of AI, because we're already engaging with AI just by virtue of putting on that phone. Those comments, you can tell if you're media literate, often, not always, that those comments and what's being generated is AI already. And so lending to what you say is that I love the practicality and the critical thinking that we learn step-by-step mind science. Right here, right now.
So so here what His Holiness is the optimism being expressed here, I find surprising. And yes, it really cultivates a certain enthusiasm to make effort. I don't think we can take this for granted. I think that the positivity that's expressed here depends on our implementing it.
He's a good parent.
Well, there's no
Bringing
room,
us up right.
no room for complacency is definitely a call to action.
Yes.
The barricades, comrade.
That's the last line.
Yes.
It's a good one.
And given the technological challenges of our time, the way we engage has to become that discernment that we have to apply has to become far more subtle, has to become far more sophisticated. Well, that's part of the sophistication is skepticism. Yes. So the development of that sophistication, the development of that technological mastery or technological proficiency is a responsibility. It's part of the development of modern discernment. And here, to go back to what I said at the beginning, when His Holiness talks about the two things that we have to work on, one is our motivation, the development of compassion, and the other is our discernment, our ability to figure out how best to implement that in order to navigate the modern day challenges. We really need to have a mastery of technology.
What page is that highlight on?
85 or 86.
86.
Thank you. Technology has always been advancing all the years, such as this year, but throughout the times, there were cars, and we do far more good with cars. We do far more good with AI. It's about, the person, the people, the individual, and their intention and inspiration. What they want to do, you could start a fire with an oven, next morning you can cook a meal and feed people. So over all the course of time, always as human beings have had to deal with technological advances. And we've always thought like that. So I do think it's an optimistic development.
Do you think, and this may be what you were talking about before, do you think that that there are aspects of modern day technology? I mean, you have children. There are aspects of it that are moving at such a pace that, for example, a child has a really hard time navigating in a far harder time navigating today than the child who was facing the technology of 100 years ago or 75 years ago was facing. Do you think that there's a difference?
Yes, I do. I do see it. The younger generation has new pieces and everything. I see the social media and
Yeah.
iPads and the stimuli and how it affect at such a rapid pace. It's definitely a lot faster. But I still am optimistic that with awareness and developing just awareness and mindfulness to know that these are fleeting moments and these are fleeting technologies. You're here in the present moment. Social media is much tangible. So I do think it would take more effort than in the past because of the quick pace. But I do still think it's
They
Good.
seem to pick up on it. Remember how many kids I've seen in the supermarket riding in their mother's cart with a small electronic device, interacting with it. They seem to. I started school 75 years ago. A pencil and pen, that was it.
Yeah, but
A git pen, actually.
having tech savvy parents who
Yeah.
are very firm with you and help you discern that when you're young. My children would sometimes complain, nobody else's moms know that. I'm like, well, you're lucky. Seriously. Because it kind of helped them to be able to discern what was important and what not, and not be over influenced, because that's kind of the peer pressure aspect that's in the attention grabbing with modern day technology. But you have strong people guiding you through, at least, I would say, well, at least you can't tell me I didn't tell you. That was usually my response.
We limited the screen time, stuff like that.
Yeah, but also when they had screen time, we talked about it. I was very clear about this is how it works, this is how it can be manipulative. You have to have full transparency when you go online. Oh yeah.
Your kids turned out brilliant.
But they understood it. It wasn't a mystery and it wasn't, I made them skeptical and smart about it as best I could at that moment. Glad we didn't have as much social media when they were growing up as taken down, but it made them self-aware at an age they didn't really want to be self-aware. I kind of forced them to, I forced the issue. I made them put it in their own words. That was my trick.
You have good moral compass too.
Well, that's because we're talking about Rinpoche and Nicholas all the time. No, I didn't. I would say, is that a video game that Rinpoche would be happy with?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, you would love this one.
That was my favorite moment.
Is that like a karmic aspect? You think
There it is.
like children
Yes.
being born into this world?
Right. They can
Part of their,
Sure.
Yeah.
so it's part of their kind of landscape is what the decisions they'll make. Into.
Yes, but I don't think we can simply say, oh, that's your karma, kids. We have to help.
That's what I
Yeah,
would say, but that's because it's easy. No, really. I think so. If they pay you, a big deal. So, that's part of the world. It's just, I mean.
So, this has been a wonderful
You
conversation.
can't go to the library, we can't. Because it's going so good here, the hell with it. Many monks are there. Only one is here. I'm sincere, I'm serious.
So, we shall now recite the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels.
For Jody Kempner. Jody Kempner.
Joe,
We're being asked to
KEMP.
pray for Jody Kempner,
Betty Bourne,
Letty Bourne,
Richard and Dennis, and I'm blanking on last name.
Richard, and Dennis.
Yes, right, that's the Buddha Bhagavad.
And there were at least 33 people who died in Gaza. Since this.
And the people who've died in Gaza. So we don't have prayers. We have to. Oh, you have. Okay. Wow, you come prepared.
You can sell that on eBay, a lot of money.
Okay. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans, is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is freed from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavat is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha, the great Yana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration. With joined palms, they are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to.
Pure,
Your
free, compassion,
virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore, their fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. Now let us recite the prayer for the swift return of Dr. Trungpa Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathering in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lobsang Tungwang Dorje Chan. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspirational prayers. Lord of speech of the victor Lobsang Tenzin,
spreading them to the ends of the earth
by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible until sickly existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return with the glory of Losang Tempe, magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of your incarnation's fresh moonlight face.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, each. That's what you do. Thank you. Thank you. Another time is just. Don't jump. We just make